know you're tired. I know you're hurting. And I wish I could say something that was classy and inspirational. But that just wouldn't be our style. Pain heals. Chicks dig scars. Glory lasts forever. Right on. Shotgun. DC right. Flip 90 dig. On the center. Ready?
Welcome in, Bills Mafia, to our first therapy session since the Hail Mary, and boy, the Madden simulation is over. The life that we had been living for the past, weeks and weeks and weeks. The Madden simulation, the reality that we did not think was possible, came to a screeching halt yesterday evening in Kansas City, Missouri. So before we get into the shout outs, before we get into anything else, it's listen, we did it to the Dolphins, we did it to the Patriots. We got to rip the Band-Aid off and do it to ourselves as well.
I will remember you. Will you remember me? Don't let your life pass you by. Weep not for the memory.
All right. It had to be done. I'm sorry. We can't do that to everyone else and then not do it to ourselves. It's just not fair. So
It had
Dave,
to be
who's
done.
in the
Well, before we
Yeah.
get to that, it had to be done. But I also brought something here for myself tonight too. For all of you that need it, a little ice cream. I'm gonna have some.
but before we start this show too, like before we really get things kicked off and started, in interest of full disclosure, I like to be as prepared as possible for these shows. I like to do my research. I like to have some thorough notes. When it became pretty evident the Buffalo Bills were not going to come back and make it a football game last night, I tripled the amount of alcohol I was consuming in a very short period of time, and quite honestly don't remember the final few moments of the game. First time I blacked out in quite some time, and I haven't had the heart to go back and rewatch any of this game. So, in my drunken fog is how I will be giving out this therapy session today. But all right, while Dave is eating his feelings,
I'll get to the shout outs.
Let's shout the people out who are here with us, and there is one Chiefs fan in the house. So congratulations to you.
Congratulations. Look, I mean, we all had our back and forths. Well, I shouldn't say we all. A lot of people were having their back and forths with Chiefs fans on Twitter before the game, after the game.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of good ones out there. Like, we know just from being in Bills Mafia that, a few bad eggs don't make the whole bunch. So anyway, the people in the comment section tonight, Spud 1129 has been in here for a while now making comments. Richard Rush is in the house. We've got Bills Mafia 17, who's new to the squad. Brian Bowers is in the house. Lone Wolf, Colin Cuoco, who's been here now for the last several shows. We've got Brooke already coming in with a super chat that we're about to get to. BFLO Mafia News. I think I saw I think I saw Zach Bell. Yep, Zach Bell's in, and F the Jets is back. And yeah, I mean, Payne is right. Elliott is in the house as always.
Yeah.
Daniel Gowries is in the house. So let's get the Brooks super chat, I guess, to kick things off here tonight.
Brooke comes in with a nice super chat. We appreciate it, Brooke. She says, McD better find his butt on the couch watching nothing but Chiefs film this entire offseason. Just beat Kansas City. And he said so much post-game. He said, listen, this is the team that we're going to have to beat if we want to do what we want to do and reach our ultimate goal of making it to and winning a Super Bowl. So the Buffalo Bills, their last 3 off seasons seem to have been focused on just improving and getting to this point. And I think it's a little bit reassuring that we're now at a point where our off seasons are about beating that one team that's like a thorn in our side. I think you made a great analogy a couple of months ago between the Buffalo Bills and the New York Knicks. Do you want to share that analogy with the people? Because I thought it was fun.
And Thad Brown tried to rip me off on that idea today, even though I had it over a month ago. So I'm just going to take.
I saw you being petty and ratioing him in that comment.
I'm usually not petty, and people know this. On Twitter, I don't really get into it, but I was feeling, everyone had to drip a little petty today because we're in a bad mood. But anyway, my comparison was that, right now it looks like Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs are the Michael Jordan Bulls of the Eastern Conference, right? And you can kind of equate the Eastern Conference in those days of the NBA to the AFC now. And the Bills are looking like they could be that up and coming, really good team that is nipping on the heels of the Chiefs, and they could be the New York Knicks. They could be the Patrick Ewing Knicks of the 90s who constantly went up against those Bulls, constantly came up just a little bit short, and didn't make it into the big, into the finals until a year that Jordan was playing baseball, right? If you remember, the year they made it to the finals against the Rockets was one of the years. I think it was the year that Jordan came back late in the season and they ended up beating him. But I don't want the Bills to become that to the Chiefs. I don't want the Bills to be, we were for years like not even really the little brother of the Pats because we were just never competing with them. I don't want to become the little brother to the Chiefs in the AFC for years to come, where it's like us just constantly nipping at their heels and we can't get over the hump. That's my biggest fear with how things are setting up right now in forecasting this conference for years to come. Now, I'm not saying that in one given game, because it's a little different than basketball. For 7 games, it's very hard to beat someone like the Knicks would have had to beat the Bulls. But for one game, the Bills could beat the Chiefs. And so you're right. Brooke is right. McDermott has now, like, the focus going away from winning the division, building yourself to kind of beat the teams in your division, which you obviously still need to do. But your target now has to be Kansas City, right? You've proven you could beat the Ravens. You've proven you can beat the Colts. Other than that, the Chiefs are the team to beat. And Brian here says, not taking anything away from the Chiefs, but that was an absolute bullshit by the Bills coaching staff. Why the hell are we paying that D-line so much money? And that's going to be a big topic of this offseason. And Brian, you're right, because you can call it whatever you want. The Bills just, didn't play well. I'm not making excuses. Like, there were things that happened in the game, but they weren't ready, and it showed from the coaching decisions to everything. But anyway, that was my analogy, and I'm taking credit for it because I said it first.
To Brian's point too, he says to take nothing away from the Chiefs, and I mean no disrespect to the Chiefs when I say this, but the reason why I felt so confident going into this game is because the Chiefs haven't looked like the Chiefs all year. The Chiefs decided yesterday that they wanted to look for the Chiefs for the first time all freaking year. And Patrick Mahomes with turf toe played like he was 100% healthy. It was absolutely incredible. But the Buffalo Bills played unequivocally their worst game all year. This was worse than the Titans game. This was worse than the first Kansas City game.
Oh yeah, I agree.
We're going to get to the ins and outs of why we lost this football game. But at the end of the day, like, Andy Reid just had Sean McDermott's number from the get-go. Their defense, which honestly isn't that great on paper, just freaking washed us. Like, our receivers could not get open. Their offense just did whatever the fuck they wanted. It was literally Holmes, Travis Kelce, and Tyreek Hill. That's it. 150-yard run for Mecole Hardman. Patrick Mahomes literally dropped back, had all day to throw, and Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill were wide spanking open on almost every single play. 95% of his passes went to those two guys. 95% of his yardage went to those two guys. The two guys that you're supposed to be game planning against. It was an absolute total system failure. I was livid last night, and I was pretty salty. I was also blackout. I was calling some people some names. I regret it. I'm sorry. But people were saying I was being toxic. People were complaining that fans were mad. Like, I'm sorry. There are a ton of positives that you can take out of this football season. We're gonna hear the Josh Allen and the Josh Allen in 2020 and the Jim Kelly in 1988 analogy a million times over this offseason. We're gonna hear the Patrick Mahomes lost his first AFC Championship game the first time analogy this offseason. We're gonna hear you saw the look on Josh Allen's face after the Houston game. You saw the way Stephon Diggs reacted to the Kansas City loss. Look out for the Buffalo Bills in 2021. That's gonna be what we go to this offseason to make us feel better about ourselves. But at the end of the day, yes, I am feeling 100% confident that we can get back to this AFC Championship game and we can get over the hump. But at the end of the day, nothing in life is guaranteed. Nothing. And we were 3 quarters away because we had that 9-0 lead. We were 3 quarters away from the Super Bowl, 3 quarters away. And we decided we just weren't going to show up. Our coaching plan sucked. Our execution sucked. It didn't look like anyone on that football field wanted to be there after we scored that touchdown to go up 9-0 until the end of the fourth quarter when they were trying to throw haymakers at people. Mm-hmm. There was a solid, 2 hours of that football game where the Buffalo Bills looked like they were going through the motions and the Kansas City Chiefs looked like they were the team that realized they were playing in the AFC fucking championship game. That's a problem. That is a huge problem. And if you're a fan and you're pointing that out and you're upset about that and you're just viscerally angry today and you're not willing to look forward to like the bright side today, there's nothing wrong with you. Feel your feelings. Be mad. It is okay. Mm-hmm. And for those of you who just want to turn the page and move on and think of this game like Voldemort, we're just not going to speak of it. That's fine too. Mm-hmm. But I'm fucking mad today. I am mad today. I need a second to grab another sip of my drink while you read Scott's super chat here.
And Scott, I mean, he's been listening to us for a long time now, comes in with the super chat, says, I don't know if you know this, when they got home today, Cole Beasley talked to the media. Yeah, this is a big story on social media this afternoon that he's been playing with a broken fibula since he got hurt in that Patriots game where he missed the week 17 matchup, then obviously played in the wild card game, but partially broken fibula. I mean, what a freaking baller Cole Beasley is. And we talked about him having a gutty performance against the Colts. But man, like now it just puts it into such a more of a picture for him. And like, this is the thing with Cole Beasley. Like, he knows he's not the most talented guy. He knows he's not the fastest guy. He's not the tallest guy, but you cannot question whether this guy wants to go out there and he wants to win the game and he wants to play hard for his team. Honestly, until Diggs got a couple catches late in that game yesterday against the Chiefs, Cole Beasley was the best receiver on the field for us. He made the nice catch to open the game, and he was really the only one really doing much until the very end. So Scott, yeah, that's incredible.
Hey, I have a question for you before we get to our next super chat too, because of the all 22 that I remember seeing that game, I haven't gone back and watched the all 22 of this game, obviously. But of what I remember seeing on the broadcast, the all 22 they were showing, Kansas City was playing man coverage and just blanketing our wide receivers. Our receivers that have been so great all year getting open in man-to-man coverage were all of a sudden this game getting blanketed. There was a couple of people on Twitter who were like, well, what do you expect? Stephon Diggs is dealing with an oblique. Cole Beasley was dealing with the leg. Gabe Davis was dealing with the ankle. Like it was just a completely banged up receiver room. It's late in the season. I get it, but like, no, I also don't get in the same regards. Like, do you buy into that narrative at all? Because football's football. Everyone's playing hurt, right?
I don't really buy into it too much now. I will say the Chiefs did play great defense. Like, I'm not going to try to take away from them, but there were multiple times early in the game where they even showed on the like the all. Not, it wasn't quite the all 22 view, but it was like the sky cam view behind the play where Allen was forcing it into into the gap into that cover 2 on the boundary, and Cole Beasley sitting there wide open with 6-7 yards in grass in front of him. So there were times where Beasley and underneath stuff was open just from the replays we're seeing in the broadcast, and Allen wasn't taking those. So if he takes those early in the game and he gets those connections early in the game, does the defense then adjust accordingly and potentially open up some more things for later in the game? We'll never know, right? We don't know like the cause and effect of what those things might have happened. But I will say that I think if Allen was taking those things early and the Bills were a little bit more methodical in trying to move down the field, then Kansas City would have had to make some kind of adjustments like that we didn't do when accordingly on our own defensive side. So it's really easy to speculate there, but I would have to say early in the game there were opportunities and that we just weren't taking them.
We got B Sully coming in saying Edmonds can't cover. That's a problem in this defense. A couple of people have made that comment today on Twitter. Like, Josh Allen took a huge step forward this year, and our offense improved significantly. Ed Oliver and Tremaine Edmonds are those guys on our defense that are going to have to take the next step this year. Next year, if this defense wants to be able to keep up with this offense. And speaking of the defense, watching this game, Brian Bowers, I think, made the comment as well, like this $50 million offensive line. Brandon Beane might have been the executive of the year, but I think almost every single one of those additions are going to be gone. And yeah, maybe he is executive of the year because of the way he structured those contracts. Our offensive line gets pushed around. Mitch Morse, even John Feliciano was getting tossed around with ragdoll that game. Darrell Williams probably had his worst game of the year. Ike Buckner can pass protect, but he sure as hell can't run block. So our offensive line's got problems. And our defensive line's got problems as well. Vernon Butler was invisible practically the entire year. Mario Addison practically invisible the entire year. Quentin Jefferson, I never thought he was used right in this defense. Practically invisible this entire season. They all had their moments, but they weren't $6, $7, $8 million players like they're getting paid. And yes, there's dead caps to every single one of those players, but I fully expect Quentin Jefferson and Vernon Butler, if they're not restructured, to be out of Buffalo. And I don't expect them to be Buffalo Bills in 2020. If they are, I'm going to be sorely disappointed because that means that Sean McDermott is going to stick to his game plan of this is my defense. I'm going to run my defense how I want to run it. We're going to run this cover 2 zone bullshit. And we're never going to play man. And the Buffalo Bills tried to play man this game. They were embarrassed. They were absolutely embarrassed. Thank you, Brooke, for the super chat as well. She says Buffalo Bills Revenge Tour 2021. I think she's got another one coming in. She had another one in there as well if you want to find it. But this defense was thoroughly pummeled. They tried to go man. Tyreek Hill ran past them. They tried to run zone. Travis Kelce had free release. And Travis Kelce caught 13 passes. In what world are you scheming up a defense where the best player on the other team has an opportunity to catch 13 freaking balls? It's insane. And when we look to this offseason, first of all, the Air Raid Hour is going to be the place to be this offseason. Me and you are obsessed with the draft, with free agency, with roster building, with having these conversations. As far as I know, the Air Raid Hour will be in place throughout the offseason, Mondays and Thursdays. We might take some time off in July, but it's going to be the same show throughout the whole offseason. We don't take a lot of time off here, and there's going to be a lot of conversations to be had about this defense going forward. So it should be super interesting. But I had a take on Twitter today, and I want your thoughts before we get to Scott's super chat, and I want the people in the comment section's thoughts. Leslie Frazier might become the head coach in Houston. I think that even if he's not named the head coach in Houston, I think the Buffalo Bills should fire him. Because it is clear to me that this is Sean McDermott's defense and Leslie Frazier's just running it. It is clear to me that this defense has hit its ceiling of what it can be. Sean McDermott is very much a let's get pressure with our front four, drop everybody back into zone, scheme up some blitzes here or there. That's what he does. This defense was incapable of playing man-to-man all at all this year. And there are situations during a season, and there are situations against other teams where you have to run man-to-man defense, or you have to dial up pressure packages that are more than just your 4 guys rushing. And Sean McDermott's been a defensive coordinator for, over a decade in the National Football League. Hasn't switched up anything, really. This has always been. And Leslie Frazier came in here and he's running that same defense where it's always the thing. It is what it's been. If I'm Sean McDermott, he made a conscious decision after his first year in Buffalo to fire Rico Dennison, who was literally using a high school playbook, and to bring in a guy like Brian Daboll to modernize this offense. I think he needs to make that same conscious decision this offseason. I think he needs to let Leslie Frazier go, and he needs to bring in a defensive coordinator who will challenge him. Another person on this defensive staff who brings a different lens, who brings a different philosophy, and they can blend their systems together, because the Buffalo Bills got to be capable of doing more than what they're doing on defense. It's not working. And I don't think it's going to work the way that this offense operates. I think we need to bring in somebody with experience running a man-to-man scheme, and we have to go out and get some corners this offseason, because Levi Wallace can't do it. Josh Norman can't do it. We got to go out and address CB2 this offseason and get some guys who are capable of running man-to-man. I know, Trey White can, but I don't know. Am I overreacting here? Is this an overreaction?
I mean, it's hard to say, right? Because, you turn back the clock last year before, this defense worked, right? It was a good defense. And in 2017, was like an all-world defense with, playing the same scheme. So I guess if you get rid of Frazier, then is McDermott just going to bring in another guy who's just going to, like you said, is he just going to bring another guy who's just going to do what he wants to do? Or
if that's what's going to happen, I have no interest in it. Keep Leslie Frazier, because he's more than qualified. I love the dude. He's a great coach. I'm not saying he's a bad coach, but I see time after time, all the time, I'll see a coordinator get fired, and I'll be like Pete Carroll did this all the time in Seattle. I'm like, wow, that's a great coordinator. Why did he fire him? And sure enough, he'll bring in someone else, and what was good turns to great. And it got better because he wanted a fresh set of eyes. There are some head coaches out there who do that.
And
isn't it that they do?
And isn't it funny though, with like some of these coordinators, right? Like they kind of go through tough stretches even as coordinators, but then like for a couple years, they kind of like turn it around. Like think about the Chiefs, right? Spagnuolo was like the belle of the ball when he was the coordinator for that Giants team that beat the Pats, right? And he went through some rough stretches where like his defenses weren't good. Now all of a sudden he's back with the Chiefs, and his defense like comes up in a big game,
and he's running a different defense. When he was in New York, he ran a 43.
Yep.
And here in Kansas City, he's running a 34.
And Dennis Allen is another example. He's the defensive coordinator for the Saints, whose defense has been really good this year. But he went through rough stretches himself, right? We know how he failed as a head coach with the Raiders, but even as a coordinator, he went through rough stretches. So it's hard for me to pin so much of it on Frazier when really McDermott, this falls to me a little bit on McDermott, right? I mean, you heard them come out of halftime, and when Evan Washburn reported on what McDermott told him, he's like, we're not going to change a lot of things schematically. I was like, excuse me? Like, no, we're not going to change.
It was almost like we were right. The players weren't doing their job type of deal.
Yeah. So let me get to Scott's super chat.
Yeah. Apologies, Scott, for taking so long. And there's a couple other super chats in there as well. You got it. I'll grab it. There we go.
Yep. There you go. So Scott says, I'm more pissed off the refs no calls against the Chiefs. Feliciano getting punched that was Chris Jones who punched him, not getting ejected. Chiefs secondary body slamming. Yeah, I mean, in that body slam on Diggs, the suplex, that type of play, regardless of whether it's after the whistle or not, is always a flag. You cannot tackle like that. You cannot lift the guy and slam him to the ground. And so it was interesting to me how it took a discussion and a late flag for that to come in. There were no flags being thrown throughout this game. There were blocks. The McCole Hardman run where he did the end around, there was a huge block in the back. Like, I mean, it was all night. So yeah, I mean, the referees could have settled this game. Like, to Scott's point, I think the referees really could have settled this game down early. I mean, it was the third play of the game where they were already getting chippy. So yeah, I mean, they missed the punch. Obviously, Chris Jones on Feliciano, they missed that. They didn't see it. Should have been, anytime there's a punch thrown, it should be really it's an ejection. But didn't happen. So
I'm gonna play devil's advocate here because I agree with you, Scott. Like, yeah, the refs were letting stuff go, but I think what was that Michelle Obama statement a couple of years ago about Donald Trump? Like, when he goes low, we go higher, or something like that. I think football's a little bit different. When they go low, you go lower. I think that this team needs to have a little bit more of an edge to it. If that's the way the Kansas City Chiefs wanted to come out and play this game, and there's a reason why they came out and played this game this way, I still can't get over you eating ice cream. Sorry.
Therapy, man. I
No,
got
it's great.
I got the Ben and Jerry's Tonight Dough, the Jimmy Fallon flavor. It's good.
I think they actually have one called like Choco Therapy or something, but where was I going with this? Like, if that's the way Kansas City is going to come out and play this football game, and they're going to bully you around, they're going to beat you up, and the refs are going to let it go, how about having some fucking stones and doing it too? Like, how about you guys start throwing your weight around? It wasn't until Josh Allen flicked the ball into Okafor's face that we decided to show any sort of edge in that entire football game. Of course, Kansas City is coming out and doing that. They're going to come out in an AFC Championship game, one game away from the Super Bowl, and they're going to spend the entire first quarter seeing what they can and cannot get away with. That's what good teams do. And I think the Buffalo Bills might not have realized that because they didn't have played a while, but it's different. And just like hockey postseason, like all these superstars can just fly or, in season, and right or wrong, Breeze swallowing that whistle in the playoffs. And it's all about who's bigger and like who can check harder. And it's very like caveman like. That's what the playoffs is in the National Football League. If they're going to hit you, hit them back harder. Like, grow a pair.
And look at the two teams in the Super. I mean, Tampa Bay. I've watched every one of their games in the playoffs. They've had that edge to them every game so far this playoffs. And Matt Ward says we don't have a D that can get consistent pressure, and it's a great point. It's going to be a huge topic of the offseason. Couldn't get consistent pressure. We got one courtesy sack on Mahomes because he ran out of bounds at the line of scrimmage, and it counted as a sack. He had one sack, 0 yards, and we're going to get into Josh Allen's sacks, which there was an interesting statistic I want to get to later. But yeah, the defense really got no pressure. But at the same time, when we finally got our hands on Mahomes, we couldn't bring him down. It was like Deshaun Watson all over again from last year's playoff game. Like Milano got a hand on him. Teron Johnson got a hand on. Like we were grabbing him and we were getting hands on him, but we could not bring him to the ground. That's been a problem for this Bills defense all year. Not getting quarterbacks. I was
making a political reference in order to like try to make an analogy or a point. So I do apologize to the comment section that is mad at me. Like,
what are they mad at
today?
Oh no, we weren't
making a statement here, people. I'm sorry.
It was just a comparison. It was just a comparison.
Yeah, I was just trying to find the words there, but Brooks says hockey isn't even fun to watch anymore. They don't allow fighting anymore, and if they do, it's like a 3-second fight. Yeah, but it's a little bit different in the playoffs. Than it is in the regular season, and that's what I'm talking about. It's just a different energy, and they let you get away with more things in the postseason. So, the last thing that those referees want to do on a national TV game and an AFC Championship game is blow their whistle and blow their whistle and blow their whistle. I mean, for the Seattle a couple of years ago, like when the Seattle had that dominant defense when they were back in their Super Bowl runs early on, and they had that defense. Like literally, Pete Carroll's philosophy was, and he told his defensive players this: go there, grab them, rip them to the ground, do it. Blow the whistle, that's fine. And then once they blow the whistle and call you on a pass interference, go out there and do it again and see if they have the stones to call you on it 2 plays in a row. To call you on it 2 plays in a row, go see if they have the stones to call you on it 3 plays in a row. Because chances are the referees, they understand the situation they're in. They understand the way the outside world is looking at them. They understand the bright lights and all that stuff. If the Kansas City Chiefs are taking the Buffalo Bills receivers and ripping them to the ground on every single play, there ain't a referee in the world who's going to have the stones to throw that for every single play and turn this thing into a 6-hour flag fest. It's not going to happen.
No,
it's not going to happen. And
you thought there were no holding calls in the regular season? Look at the playoff games.
Yeah,
A few holding calls.
and the Bills played in and survived, 2 playoff games, or played in and won 2 playoff games. I understand that. But I think they got a real taste of what the playoffs were like today, going into an opponent's stadium with fans in the stands, and the energy that they saw from the Kansas City Chiefs is the energy that they're going to have to start to mimic if this team wants to do anything. If that's how the Kansas City Chiefs are going to come out and play this football game, instead of saying to yourself, I'm better than this, I'm going to wave my hands at the referee and be angry about it, and I'm going to have my coach yell at them and try to get them to throw a flag. No, just fucking get down right there in the mud with them. Get right down there in the mud with them, and that's the way that you're going to win a fucking playoff game. And if you're not willing to do that, if you think you're better than that, if you think you're above that, you're going to be sitting at home watching the Super Bowl. It's plain and simple. It is just plain and simple. So, all right, we are 31 minutes in, and I don't even think we have touched on the most important thing, and that was field goals over touchdowns. I know that you feel a certain way about this, so I'm going to let you take the microphone here and talk to me about how there was 3 4th and short situations where when we spent this entire regular season going for it in those situations, we decided in the AFC Championship game on the world's biggest stage against one of the best offenses in the National Football League to kick field goals instead of trying to score touchdowns. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, so obviously the first one was on that first drive where we ended up settling for a I missed that comment. What did it say? I didn't see it.
Chris says we need some players who'll take some bites out of kneecaps. That's a Dan Campbell quote. We don't need to go to Dan Campbell's level of petty, but yeah.
So the first drive, right? They go for the first 4th down because it was a short one. They get it. Okay, they're driving. And then I believe it was like a 4th and 2 and a 4th and 3 or a 4th and 3. They decide to go for the 51-yard field goal attempt instead of going for it on 4th and 3 early in the game in opponent territory. That is the only one where I was kind of like, okay, like it's the opening drive. You're trying to get points. It's a long ass field goal, but thinking long term, if you want to give Bass some confidence for maybe later in the game, who knows? We could be in a shootout, getting in a situation where he has to kick a game winner. Maybe let him kick a long one early where there's like less pressure on him and see what he does with it. Okay. I still would have gone for it. I'll say that right now. I still would have gone for that 4th down that early in the game in opponent's territory, knowing who the opponent was. Then on 2 other occasions, you're 4th and 3 and one of them was 4th and goal. You had already missed an extra point. So you're down by 2 possessions, regardless of whether you make the field goal. In both situations, you make the field goal, you're still down by 9 points. So in my mind, if you're down by 2 possessions either way, why are you not going for the touchdown, knowing how easily Kansas City has moved up and down the field on your defense, and knowing that if you settle for a field goal, there's a very high likelihood that Kansas City is going to come right back on the next drive and score a touchdown. And what does that do for you? So the thing that baffled me the most was all year we were so aggressive, and this has been well documented today on social media and everywhere. We were so aggressive all year, and in the big moments, McDermott reverted to his like 2017 self, right, where he was ultra conservative, took points, and ultimately really didn't play to win the game. I know people are going to say, well, on the drive before the half, you want to get something as you go into the half for some momentum. You don't want to come away with no points there. But how much different would you have felt in this situation? You kick the field goal. Do you really feel that great about it? Or how much more of a boost is it if you were to convert that 4th and goal and get the touchdown and take that momentum into the locker room, knowing how bad your defense played, but you would have only been, and the Chiefs get the ball, and you would have only been down, I think, what, 6 points, right? Had you gotten the touchdown and the extra point. I mean, that's a whole different ball game right there. Chiefs come out and they get a field goal in the opening drive of the second half. You'd only be down, like, I don't get it.
Yeah.
It's on coaching team. Well, no, that's one element.
It's on everybody. It was one element. It was one element. Everyone is to
whole
blame.
the whole thing. Everyone is to blame here. We're just specifically right now talking about those fourth downs,
Mhm.
and that's where we're starting with this. But don't worry, we're good. We're gonna
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
we're gonna go through all of it. But
It was
that's
Mhm.
I would have gone for it every single time. I would have gone
Yeah.
for it every single.
It was for sure a total system failure this game, but coaching was a big, big part of it. Joshua Richardson, we're going to get to your super chat in one quick minute, but there's just a couple of tweets that I saw this morning that I thought put the cowardice. I'm going to say it, the cowardice of Sean McDermott not to go for it on fourth down in those three situations in perspective. Tyler Dune from the Fourth and Long, his newest endeavor, former Bleacher Report writer, says, thought Sean McDermott had turned that new leaf, but nope. The Bills head coach opted to kick field goals on 4th and 3 and 4th and goal from the 2 and 4th and 3 from the 8. Mahomes and Reed and Kansas City took that 17-14 mindset at the worst time. And that's what stings the most, is because there were a lot of people who were watching the Buffalo Bills for the first time all year who didn't understand that Sean McDermott was one of, if not the most aggressive coaches in the National Football League. And in the biggest moment on the biggest stage, he crumbled back towards his cowardly ways, the things that we thought he had moved on from. And that is a legitimate concern that every single Bills fan should have. Maybe Sean McDermott takes that growth mindset into the offseason, and his regular season attitude extends into the postseason next year. When we're in the postseason next year, hopefully that's the case. Like I said, there's a silver lining to every single thing we're talking about tonight. A silver lining to everything, and that is the growth mindset. Every single way we fucked up today is something that we can correct and do better next year. It still stings like a motherfucker because we were 3 quarters away from the Super Bowl. But, Kevin Cole from Pro Football Focus says, this from McDermott is a pretty clear translation that he wanted to extend the game, not maximize win probability. In his post-game press conference, McDermott said, we were having trouble coming up with points, and I wanted to at least have something to show for it going into the half, especially knowing they were getting the ball after the half. Kevin Cole goes on to say, the fact that the Chiefs were getting the ball to start the second half should mean you need a touchdown more if you really want a shot to win that football game. And I couldn't agree more. There's no other way to describe it. It was absolute cowardice.
I mean, and people in the comments section are saying, like, if he goes for it and doesn't get it, we're going to say he should have taken the points. But, like, again, field goals
Not
weren't
against
winning
Kansas
that
City.
game. If you're down 9 or if you're down, 12, like, really does it matter that much? I mean, it's 2 possessions either way. That's my point. It would have been different. I think it would have been slightly different, not a lot different. I think it would have been slightly different if those field goals kept you within 1 possession. Then the story is a little different.
Like you will see pundits across the internet, right, have a million different takes on one single event or one single issue. You will literally see a million different takes on one single thing. The reaction to Sean McDermott's coaching choices on those 4th downs was pretty unanimous throughout the entire football world on Twitter last night. And he is like literally bringing everyone together. we can all to call a truce just to fucking rip on Sean McDermott. Yeah. Joshua Richardson, sorry it took so long to get to your super chat, man. I do apologize. This is a great transition here. He said, we need to get a whole new defensive line. We need a number 2 shutdown corner and a big, reliable tight end. Our defense underachieved. I couldn't agree with you more. Like I said, this is going to be the place to be this offseason for roster management talk and draft talk and free agency talk. We are going to have you covered every Monday and Thursday nights. Whatever you guys want to talk about, we will talk about. We will mock draft the shit out of this show. We will have our free agents. You guys can share your free agents, and we'll all get more informed as Bills fans this offseason and talk about how we want to build this team into the future. But he says it right there. I don't think we're going to see Quentin Jefferson in the Bills roster next year. I don't think we'll see Vernon Butler. I think Starlord Olele will get restructured to bring his cap down a little bit. I think Mario Addison will be restructured. I think you'll see some restructuring on some of the bigger contracts that are harder to get out of on that defensive line. And I think you will see the Buffalo Bills push for some different players on the defensive line. How they go about getting it, I don't know. 2 players I got my eye on: Matt Hendrickson from the New Orleans Saints. He's going to cost you a pretty penny, but he's a power rusher, kind of what I thought AJ Epinesa was going to be before he lost 20 pounds. So Matt Hendrickson, from New Orleans Saints is a guy that sticks out to me. Number 2 shutdown corner, a guy like Xavier Rhodes, Indianapolis Colts, 30 plus. You could probably get him on a shorter deal for $4 or $5 million a year. And he's a guy who can play zone and he can play man. So a guy like Xavier Rhodes, who's a bigger corner, is a guy who really sticks out to me on the free agent market, and a reliable tight end. There are 2 guys who will be available in the late first, second round of the draft. Kyle Pitts is out of our realm of possibility, but I will be severely disappointed if one of these 2 players is not on the Buffalo Bills roster next year, and that's Pat Freiermuth from Penn State University, who's 6'5", 250 pounds, a guy who can do some damage after the catch. He can do some damage downfield. He's a bigger body, and a smaller, more of a flex move tight end in Brevin Jordan from the University of Miami. His statistics, his analytics are insane. The completion percent, I believe he was the most. Let me pull up the statistic. I have it here on my phone. Brevin Jordan, University of Miami, Pat Freiermuth from Penn State. If you don't know who these 2 guys are, hit up YouTube, hit up Twitter, and get to know these 2 names, because they're going to be your favorite players, some of your favorite players this draft season. Most yards after catch by tight ends this season, Brevin Jordan was number 1 in the country at 353. Highest passer rating when targeted amongst draft eligible tight ends in 2020. Brevin Jordan was number 2 behind only Devontae Smith and ahead of Kyle Pitts with a 148.7 passer rating for his quarterback when targeting Brevin Jordan. Brevin Jordan, Pat Freiermuth, give me one of those 2 guys in the second round. I want a bigger body weapon over the middle, a guy that Josh Allen can use like Travis Kelce and play off of Stephon Diggs and work that interior, not just a Cole Beasley.
Yeah, I agree. And the thing that's sad about the defensive line is, I mean,
Expectations.
You can go back and watch the videos that we had. I had such high hopes for this defensive line. I was like, this is the deepest unit we have on the team as far as like position groups. I mean, it was like we had such a expectation of this group to perform. I know you really loved Addison going into the season, thought he could be close to 10 sack guy, could be a surprise player. We thought Quentin Jefferson was going to be a nice piece. You know, when we drafted Epinesa, we're like, man, we got some bodies now with Oliver going to, and it just didn't work out. So it's going to be interesting to me to see what they do, if they like acknowledge that that changes need to be made, or given what they did last year in free agency in the draft, if they don't do much. I would be surprised if they don't address it in some way. John DeMarchi, Harvard man, coming in here with the super chat. Thank you, John. Jim Kelly, Peyton Manning, Brett Favre, Steve Young, and yes, Pat Mahomes lost their first conference championship game. A-Rod League MVP lost one yesterday. Josh is 24. It sucks now, but Jay 17 will deliver. And like Steve was saying, there's going to be you'll see a lot of this, and John's right. You know, you'll see a lot of this. You'll see a lot of comparisons to the Bills. You'll see a lot of talk like this. You know, Aaron Rodgers, we're talking about how the Bills, lost kind of a heartbreaker. I mean, Aaron Rodgers now lost 2 NFC championship games in a row in back-to-back years. So, that's pretty rough for Green Bay fans. But again, Green Bay's, 2010, they won a Super Bowl. So like, it's not, and Green Bay has the Super Bowl rings in their trophy case. So, the Lombardi's in their trophy case, to where situations like this, at least in my mind, as someone who's a fan of a team who's never won, it softens the blow a little bit, I think. So, Josh is 24, it sucks now, but Jay 17 will deliver. I mean, yeah, we have to hope so, right? He's our best chance that we've had since Jim Kelly to win a Super Bowl. And I firmly believe that he could win one. We just, like you said, there's no guarantee. It's so difficult to get back to these title games. Like, you got to go through a gauntlet. You got to go through, likely, if you don't get, there's only one team that gets the bye now. So you got to win 2 games. So John, yeah, I mean, look, there's a lot of silver linings, a lot of ways to kind of spin this in a positive way. And that's one of them. So I appreciate that positivity.
Yeah. There's always a silver lining, said Bradley Cooper to what's her name from the Hunger
Jennifer
Games
Lawrence.
in that movie. That was an underratedly good movie. I actually enjoyed
Silver
it.
Linings Playbook. Yeah.
It was like one of those like artsy movies that I understood. So
not like La La Land.
What the Ryan Gosling saved jazz apparently. Anyway,
that was an artsy one I didn't understand.
Yeah, I had no idea what the fuck was going on in that entire movie. But Chris Janke in the comment section, I want to thank you, Chris. He said, Judge, I think you meant Trey Hendrickson. Yes, I meant Trey Hendrickson of the New Orleans Saints. Absolute monster this year. He's a big bull power rusher. I think Matt Hendrickson, maybe like a pitcher in baseball. I don't know where I got
He
that.
was,
Mixed up,
yeah, he was. He was like a big, tall dude that threw junk. Like he
yeah.
wasn't like he this big junk ball pitcher.
But Billy coming in saying Devontae Freeman dominating the run game next year. I'll tell you what, I think Devontae Freeman is shot. I think
Do
he's
we need to talk
shot.
about Devin Singletary though in this run
Yeah.
game?
Well, that was the next thing I wanted to get to, because there are a lot of people in this chat section. I've seen Travis Etienne and Najee Harris go for that running back. I've seen JJ Watt thrown around in the comment section. I have seen Tony, the receiver returner from Florida, thrown around in the comment section. There's a lot of things going on in the comment section. So I want to throw out three things here. And Randy Harmon says running backs aren't the problem. So this is part of the debate here. I want to throw out this question to you, and then I want the people in the comment section to let me know too. It's hard to add every single thing you need in one off season, right? It's just it's very difficult to do, and the Buffalo Bills are going to find themselves in a weird cap situation that they didn't expect to find themselves in because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Who knows? Maybe it'll all settle itself out and the cap will go back up to some semi-normality. But if the Buffalo Bills were able to add only one of these three things this offseason, which of the three would you prefer? A dynamic playmaking tight end is your first choice.
Mm-hmm.
A clear-cut RB1 with speed is your second choice. And so for tight end, like a Freiermuth or a Brevin Jordan type of player. For running back, I'm thinking like a Travis Etienne type of player. Or your third choice is going to be a defensive playmaker. I'm talking like a JJ Watt, a Trey Hendrickson. Of those three choices, a playmaking dynamic tight end, a clear-cut RB1, or a defensive playmaker. Which of those three are you choosing? And people in the comment sections, let me know what you're choosing as well.
Wow.
Someone just said a guard. I feel confident we can add a guard. I feel confident we can add a guard. I'm giving you those three choices here, people.
I'm gonna play copycat here, and if I'm thinking that I got a chance to get a combination like the Chiefs have, where they have that alpha receiver and they have that alpha tight end, then that's what I'm gonna go for. I mean, the Chiefs do have pass rushers and they have Clyde Edwards-Helaire, but he wasn't really a factor in the game yesterday. So I mean, they spent a first-round pick on that guy, and he wasn't the reason they kicked our asses up and down the field. It was Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill. So if the Bills look at their roster right now and they think, well, John Brown might be a cap casualty. We've got an up-and-comer in Gabe Davis, who's a nice player. Cole Beasley's a good slot guy. And we have give me the playmaking tight end. Give me the playmaking tight end if you're going to have to go toe-to-toe with the Chiefs in the AFC for years to come. Give me the tight end.
And someone came in and said, give me the two or the three. I'll tell you what, I want the tight end bad. I want the tight end is what I crave.
We did not discuss this ahead of time.
Yeah, this was a surprise. The tight end is what I crave. I'll tell you what, running back, I am honestly fine with Singletary and Moss and draft a guy late. I really like CJ Maribel from Coastal Carolina. There's a couple other guys late. You can get a guy in the middle rounds like Gainwell from Memphis. I haven't gotten too deep into my draft study yet. There's veterans you can pick off the street like TJ Yeldon, like Devontae Freeman. Like there are things you can do if you improve the offensive line. I think the running game will improve. But the more I think about it, and the more I think about a guy like JJ Watt, who could be available this offseason, that might just be what this defense needs. A guy who's done that. Billy comes in and says, all you need is a decent tight end or a running back. Maybe Dawson Knox can do it. Maybe we can bring Tyler Kroft back and those guys can do it. Maybe the running backs can do it if you improve the line. If you bring in a guy like JJ Watt or even a guy like Trey Hendrickson who can improve into or really come into his own, because he's a very young player, and be that power bull rusher on your defensive line and bring in a different type of tenacity to your defensive line and a been there, done that sort of like rugged approach to your defensive line, just a guy to elevate you. To me, that might actually be the way I lean. I think I might have changed my mind mid-show here.
Well, here's the thing. You get more with JJ Watt than just the play on the field. I mean, JJ Watt brings more. He brings to the locker room. He brings to the energy on the field, leadership to the field. Like, he is not going to let the defense have an emotional letdown if he's out there. So if you're talking about something like that, where you get like the player plus the added sort of intangible stuff, I guess it is tangible because you can kind of measure it. But if you get that plus the added bonus of like the emotional uplift, then yeah, I could see that. And also, there's a chance you could get JJ Watt for like a 1-year deal, for reason, like it's not gonna be reasonable money, but you can get him for 1-year deal to where you're not worried about cap situations into the future. So, Joshua comes in here and says, "How do you feel about Jalen Virgil? App State runs a 4.26 in a bigger Tyreek Hill." We're gonna do a lot of draft.
So much draft show.
As between
You guys are
now,
gonna hate us.
like, you basically have 3 months where we're probably gonna do one show a week on like roster and like another show a week on draft.
Yeah,
like
we'll
probably do
much
a draft type show every week.
So essentially, and we haven't really flushed out these plans, but I'm looking forward to looking up some Jalen Virgil film there. I'm not too much acquainted with his game, but someone Buffalo Mafia news that Buffalo Fanatics. Let me tell you what, we got a roster that's like 30 deep of people who know what the hell they're talking about. So we might just have to give WGR a run for their money on free agency day. And Andrew will get to your super chat, and John will get to your super chat in a second. But plans for this offseason, we're going to continue to do our Monday and Thursday shows with a focus on free agency and the draft and roster management and any news that comes up. And I think we're going to get together on weekends too and record our own traditional podcast, because there was a lot of things that we enjoy doing, me and you, like comparing mock drafts and comparing mock off seasons. And there are things that we like to do that doesn't sort of like fit with a being live show. It's sort of just a two-way conversation that I think we want to have. So we're going to go back to recording a traditional podcast at some point this off season if we have the time, and then also do these 2 live shows. So we're going to have you guys covered this offseason. You're not going to be able to get rid of us. If you're looking to talk Buffalo Bills, listen Buffalo Bills, you ain't going to have a problem. Andrew Miller says, Chuba Hubbard, thoughts? He's my RB3 right now behind, or actually, I'm sorry, he's my RB4 right now behind Javonte Williams from North Carolina, Najee Harris, and Travis Etienne. I'm a big fan of Chuba Hubbard's game. I thought he was going to come out last year. And if Chuba came out last year, I might have wanted him over Zach Moss. Do you have any thoughts and or feelings on Chuba Hubbard yet?
I mean, the patience, right? That's the one thing he's like known for, I guess. I mean, I haven't really started deep into my draft prep, but I know I watched a few Oklahoma State games this year, and they were a good team this year. They were a good offense. Hubbard was a really patient runner. Like, he just seemed very pro ready to me. He's not like the fastest dude, but frame wise, 6 feet, 200 pounds, like it's kind of like, kind of the guy you're looking for. I mean, we need a speed guy, right? So that's the one thing where I'm like, I'm not so sure, right? But again, once I watch the tape, I'll probably have a more educated opinion on him.
Yeah, it's somebody mentioned James Hodgins in the comment section. That just got that's just what made me go from 6 to midnight. I'm a huge fan of Hodgins. We all know how much I love Hodgins, and he'll be out there on the football field next year. And a couple other people commenting with some of their I've already got some draft crushes already. I'm not gonna lie to you. Anthony Schwartz from Auburn, Trey, Dave. I'm blanking on names right now, but the guard from Ohio State. Just there are some draft crushes that I have that.
Davis, Wyatt Davis.
Yeah. I don't know why I blanked. I almost called him Trey Smith. I think that's the guy from Tennessee. Like I said, it's still early in the process. Brevin Jordan, is a favorite of mine. There's a ton of guys. The tackle from Virginia Tech, he's not going to be on the board when we pick, is another big favorite of mine as well. But you got John DeMarshi coming in saying, and dude, preach it, man, preach. I'm just as disappointed as you. What is disappointment? It's expectations minus reality. The expectations were sky high for this defensive line this year. And he says, Bill spent $61 million cap on defensive line. Star was 10 of that. Still number one on defensive line spending versus the cap in the NFL. I will stand for Hughes and Oliver, Zimmer, and Heron Phillips and Epi. The rest, question mark. I'm with you. I think this offseason, you can get a decent amount of cap relief for releasing Jerry Hughes. I believe it's only like a $2 million cap hit, and it's like $7 million of savings. But still, I made this comment, I believe, on the pregame show when somebody was trying to trash Jerry Hughes. Get me Jerry Hughes on a defensive line with some power players, and I think that you'll see an uptick in actual box score production. So give me one more year, Jerry Hughes, which I think the Buffalo Bills envision. Guys like Zimmer, guys like Butler, I'm sorry, not Zimmer, guys like Butler, guys like Jefferson, I'd cut the cord. Mario Addison, I'd even consider cutting the cord. If you can't cut the cord, I'd restructure that deal to bring the salary cap down. I think the Buffalo Bills envisioned and Brandon Beane envisioned Quentin Jefferson, Vernon Butler, and Mario Addison being 2-year players, being here for 2 years, serving on this defensive line in a rotational capacity for 2 years. And as those guys were serving as starters and rotational pieces, they would work to bring some younger guys in. But I think plans have to change. I think what you wanted to do didn't work. When this defensive line was playing to the best of their abilities, you saw it in Baltimore, you saw it in San Francisco. They were really good. They were capable of being good. They have the talent to be good, but the consistency just wasn't there. They ran so hot and cold. We need some power players, and it's more than just Star. It's more than just Star Lodolay that's going to fix all our problems. It's more than that. You need another big fatty behind him. I think you need more of a guy who's in the 270, 280 range playing left end. I thought it was going to be AJ Epinesa or Quentin Jefferson. They kept Quentin Jefferson inside. AJ Epinesa lost 20 pounds. So we need those power players, the Trey Hendricksons, the JJ Watts type of players. There's a bunch of guys in the draft. There's a bunch of defensive tackles in the second, third round of the draft that I love. Marvin Wilson from Florida State being one of them.
Hey, give me my guy. Give me my NC State guy, Elam McNeil. I like that guy for middle rounds.
Yeah.
Let's keep an eye.
There's a couple other defensive ends that the Buffalo Bills could get their hands on the second and third round. Guys like, Carlos Basham from Wake Forest, who could develop as well. So, like I said, we're going to dive deep into this draft stuff. And it's going to be really exciting. Like, as much as it sucked for this, yes, Wyatt Davis. I don't know why I was blanking on his name. Randy, I didn't see your comment about Carlos Basham, so I do apologize. I wasn't stealing that from you, I promise. But before we get to the Cole Beasley thing, it's just I don't know. Like, I love the season, and maybe this comes from being a Bills fan for so long when we were so friggin' bad. But like, sometimes I almost preferred the offseason to the regular season because like of the hope factor. Like you could like sit there as an armchair GM, try to put a roster together and imagine what they're going to look like on the football field. And your expectations were always higher than the reality of what they actually did on the football field. So like, this was the first time I think in a very long time, I wasn't waiting for the season to come to an end. Cause even last year, it's like, all right, this team is getting better. This team is improving, but like, we need some more pieces. Let's get to that offseason. Let's get there. Let's load up and let's make that Super Bowl run in 2020. Like every year I say that to myself. So man, COVID really fucked this offseason too, because it could have just been us talking about what's that one or two players to put us over the top. And now it's like, how do we maintain a roster with these salary cap restrictions? It's just,
I find it fascinating how in 2 years, like the topics we're talking about in the offseason have like kind of totally went 180. Like it was like for a year, it was like, okay, last year was like, let's get weapons for Josh Allen. Our defense is good. We don't really need to do much with the defense. It's going to be good. If we can just get Josh Allen some weapons and our offense can take a step, we're going to be really good. Now this offseason is going to be like, well, the offense is kind of fine. Now we got to go back to the defensive side of the ball and address the defense. So just funny how things change like that. Joshua, yeah, a couple of people have mentioned already about the Beasley thing, playing with a broken leg. I mean, and you hear Beasley even say, like, in the press conference, he says, hey, I don't feel like I'm slowing down. This has been his heaviest workload he's ever had. Beasley is such an invaluable player to this team, and I'd hope to see that he would play like I would assume he's going to play his entire contract out that he signed with the Bills. So kind of veered off course talking about this Chiefs game. But,
No,
maybe that's
right.
a good thing.
There's actually a game I want to play with you to start getting into the off-season mode. There's a game I want to play with you. I haven't stated the rules of this game, and this is a game you guys in the comment section can play as well. Before we play that game, while I have a chance to prepare my notes here, because like I said, I was blackout drunk last night. I'm not as prepared as I typically am for a show. I created a video this morning, probably when I should have been working a little harder at my day job than I should have. I created a video today. I say this a lot, and I've already posted it on Twitter if you've already seen it. I say this a lot, but this might be the best thing I've ever done in my adult life. This actually might be my magnum opus. So I'm going to play this video. Dave, you've never seen this video because you haven't hopped on Twitter yet. So it's going to be a surprise to you. Maybe you've seen it on Twitter. If not, head over to Twitter, follow our account on Twitter, the Bills guys, and retweet the hell out of this because I want to be Brother Bill famous. I did my best Brother Bill impression. So let me know what you guys think about this video here.
It's never goodbye.
That line is what we reach, so remember me when I'm gone.
Been a long day without you, my friend, and I'll tell you all about it when I see you again.
Hey, thought you could leave without saying goodbye.
I used to say I lived my life a quarter mile at a time. And I think that's why we were brothers. Because you did too.
Started out small to a real bond. Cause we're brothers first. Cause we're been through a lot, but it ain't over. We gon' keep it going.
You'll always be with me.
Change the game without even knowing.
And you'll always be my brother.
How can we not talk about family when family's all that we got? Everything I would do, you were standing there by my side. And now you gon' be there for the last ride. How can we not talk about family when family's all that we got? Everything I would do, you were standing there by my side. And now you gon' be with me for the last ride. And now you gon' be there for the last ride.
Thoughts, Dave?
That was great, man. I mean, that brought some real emotion out of me. Okay, I mean that was good, and I did not see it before. That was the first time I saw it. So, man, it's sad. It's sad, man. It is, but you just got to remember the good times we had in 2020, right? I mean, that's what that's all about, and it was a good season. And man, it's tough. It's tough to say goodbye to 2020 season. Not tough to say goodbye to 2020 as a year, but as a season, yes. And we'll segue into this comment from Timothy Lewis and the super chat. But you know what? Really nice job. That is your best work.
Thank you.
That was your best work. Marquez Stevenson from Houston, just as fast as Tyreek. Give Josh Tyreek, and we'll match
I love
them
me some
head
Marquez
up.
Stevenson. There are some speed in this draft. Anthony Schwartz, Marquez Stevenson, the guy from App State that was mentioned earlier. There are some speed guys in this draft, and that's the funny thing too, right? Because right now, if you head on over to the Draft Network or you head on over to Pro Football Network, whatever your choice, even Pro Football Focus, I won't judge you. Whatever your choice of mock draft machine is, as long as it's not firstpick.com. Whatever your choice of mock draft machine is, the guys like Anthony Schwartz are available in the 3rd round. Guys like Marquez Stevenson are available in the 4th, 5th round. But you get to the combine and you get to the workouts that they get to go through, and they go and they run like a 4.26 at the combine. All of a sudden, that guy who was like a 4th or 5th round pick based on his production on the football field, all of a sudden becomes like a 2nd round pick. I would not be surprised if by the end of this draft process, Anthony Schwartz finds himself drafted in the 1st round. Like I really wouldn't. Well, a guy like Anthony Schwartz moving up into like the 1st round, early 2nd, something like that really wouldn't surprise me. Gio Granelli says the combine is canceled. I didn't hear about that. I mean, they're playing the Senior Bowl right now, and the NFL hasn't canceled pretty much anything but the Pro Bowl this year. I I could be wrong. I really do not think it is canceled. To my knowledge, Master Teague has come out, so he will be available as well there. I'm not actually too impressed with Master Teague. It is canceled. I mean, guys are still going to be running 40s. So whether it's at their pro days or whatever, guys are still going to be running their 40s. So thank you, Nathan, and thank you guys for letting me know. I had no idea it was canceled. Did you?
I didn't. I thought they were doing a virtual.
Okay.
I thought they were doing like a virtual combine.
Yeah, virtual.
Yeah,
okay.
Okay.
So there we go. My bad. I apologize. Like I said, haven't gotten to the off-season prep yet, but a 420, like a 42640 is a 42640. If Anthony Schwartz goes and run it at his local virtual pro day, there are going to be scouts there to see it. So yeah, it might be a little bit different. It might be a little bit different, but yeah, Andrew Miller says it's all pro days. Hey, it is what it is. I still think there are guys who are going to run really fast, guys who are going to bench a lot, guys who are going to, do some certain things or get to have conversations with certain coaches, even if it is virtual, and they'll shoot up draft boards. Nathan Antonucci says chances we trade up to get Najee Harris. Listen, that's the conversation we're going to have this offseason, because like every single person in this comment section has been defensive line, offensive line, just flaming the shit out of both lines, and deservedly so. We were tossed around like a rag doll for a lot of this season on both of our lines. Our interior offensive line needs to be redone. Our interior defensive line and some of our edge players need to be reset. And there's only so many things you can do in an offseason. So that's the balancing act that we're going to have this offseason. Do we want to get a guy like Wyatt Davis in the first round? Or do we want to get a guy like Najee Harris in the first round? Because I could see Najee slipping to the Buffalo Bills at 30. I don't see Travis Etienne slipping, but I could see Najee slipping. Like, do you take Kadarius Toney at 28? Kansas State does it all the time. They drafted Mecole Hardman. They draft speed. They drafted Clyde Edwards-Helaire. They had other needs. Their defense on paper wasn't great, but they took those offensive playmakers and just keep surrounding Mahomes with weapons and weapons and weapons. That's an approach the Buffalo Bills can take this offseason. Or they can go about they can either patchwork their line, or they could try to make their line good to great. It's a tough decision. You can't do it all in one offseason. You just can't. So it's going to be a conversation we're going to have this offseason, because people are already coming in already. Somebody said defense schmefense. Defense means nothing in the NFL. That's a person who's probably going to want Najee Harris or Travis Etienne or Kadarius Toney or Freiermuth or Brevin Jordan. So
yesterday, the lack of on our front.
Yeah. But. So it's going to be fun. And just because the season is over doesn't mean there's not conversations to have. So it's going to be I think it'll be an enjoyable off season. I can't wait to have these debates with you guys. But before we get out of here, I want to play a little game with you. And that game is called, and I want to play with the people in the comment section as well. The game is Bill or Not a Bill in 2021. And we're going to go through two things. We're going to go through the list of Bills 2021 free agents. And I want you to tell me whether you think right now he is or isn't going to be a Bill in 2021. People in the comment section, you can chime in as well. And then we're going to go through some guys who have a pretty significant cap savings if we cut them. And this is our one day after the season is over prediction. So let's go through this 2021 free agent list. And again, we're going to get to guys like John Brown and stuff after this. But let's start with number one, Trent Murphy. Bill or not a Bill in 2021?
Not.
Yeah, it was easy. Tyler Kroft.
Not.
I agree. Matt Milano.
Not.
Yeah, I'm going to say not too. Josh Norman.
Not.
Ty Inseki.
Yes. I think
I'm going to say yes as well, because I think you can get him.
Look, I'm not saying this this is based on what I think, not based on what I want. Yeah. So just so everyone knows, this is just it's purely what I'm thinking of the Bills.
The thing with Ty Inseki is you can probably get him for a cheap deal, like 1 year, $2 million, 1 year, $3 million, and he's your swing tackle. You know he can play left. You know he can play right. So
I know we need Milano people in the comment section. I know we need him.
We know.
I'm speculating what's going to happen. I want Milano. Trust me, I want him. But I'm saying, what do I think is going to happen through the lens
Because
of the Bills organization.
that brings us to the next two names
I
here.
know. We
Because
need
it
him.
could
I
be
know.
Milano or next guy on the
need him.
list, John Feliciano, Bill or not a Bill in 2021.
Yes,
He's a
will be.
Bill for sure. Josh Allen loves that dude. He's a Bill.
Yes.
Darrell Williams, right tackle.
That's a tough one. Given that his play kind of slumped in that game and some of these late games, I'll say yes, he is. That's a toss up though. That's a toss up.
Yeah, I'm gonna say yes too. I think the Buffalo Bills will try to focus their changes to the interior.
Yeah.
There's a name I'm gonna bring up later who I don't think will be a Bill in 2021 that pissed some people off last week. So you might already know who it is. You might not. So Brian Winters.
Hell no.
Fuck no. Here's a tough one. Andre Roberts.
Yes, they'll bring.
I'm gonna say no.
Okay,
I'm gonna say no. I don't think Andre Roberts will be back.
I think they bring him out for 1 year. 1 year,
That's
$2
true.
million.
That is true. Tywan Jones.
Yeah, he'll be back.
Me too. I believe that as well. Matt Barkley.
Yeah, he'll be back. Is he an unrestricted free agent?
Unrestricted.
Ooh, now they might go the Davis Webb route. I'll say no to Matt Barkley.
I'm gonna say yes. I think the Bills have no intention of improving the quarterback room. I think you will see Matt Barkley, Jake. I think you will see Matt Barkley, Jake Fromm, and Davis Webb.
Plus, Matt Barkley
in training camp.
He'll be one of the cheapest backup quarterbacks in the league. So yeah, I'll change to yes on that. I'll go yes on Matt Barkley.
I think the Bills need to improve backup quarterback. I just don't think they have the money for it, or the attention span to really pay attention to the quarterbacks this offseason. TJ Yeldon.
I'll say yes, just because I think the Bills aren't going to invest heavily in running back.
I'm going to say no, just because he's consistently inactive. I think they will try to bring in another running back into the room, not named Antonio Williams and Christian Wade, and see if that player can latch on. So whether it's another veteran or a rookie, I'm going to say no on TJ Yeldon. Oh, here's a tough one. Dean Marlowe.
Yeah, they like Dean. I think he'll be back.
I think he'll be back, but I don't know if he'll be on the 53 man. I think he'll be back for training camp. I don't know if he'll make it to the final roster. Isaiah McKenzie.
They love Isaiah. I think he'll be back.
But listen, you see this with teams like Kansas City, right? Chris Connolly, Albert Wilson. These fourth, fifth receivers get a big ass contract offer from other teams. That's my biggest concern.
Did he do enough to get a big ass contract offer? I mean,
did Albert Wilson? Did Chris Connolly?
Especially if he's going to be the fifth guy, and we have Isaiah Hodgins coming back.
Because remember, in free agency and stuff, you're paying for potential.
Yeah.
What do you think a player can do, not for what they've done in their past? So you see what he did against Miami. You see what he can do as a returner. Someone says Dable refuses to use McKenzie. Part of me thinks that maybe McKenzie would be a bigger part of the game plan if John Brown isn't back.
Maybe, yes.
Here's another question for you. A little pause here. What is the highest annual salary you'd be willing to go for Isaiah McKenzie? Yearly cap hit.
$2 or $3 million.
I'd say $2 million. I put a hard line in the sand at about 2.5.
Yeah.
Levi Wallace, RFA.
Yeah, he'll be back.
Yeah. Whether he's on the 53 man or not, I don't know, but I think he will be back. He could be a trade chip this offseason. He could be a trade chip. Andre Smith, another RFA.
I mean, training camp, maybe.
We traded a 7th round pick for him. He's These other three guys, why even bother? Delshon, Corey Bojorquez, Ike Butker, they're all going to get tendered, right?
They're all RFAs.
Yeah, they're all RFAs. So let's get into the good stuff. And let's talk about guys who could be released and be a significant cap saving if we release them. Let's start with John Brown. Bill or not a Bill in 20?
If the cap is lower, I say no, he's not. And I say that only because of what we saw from Gabriel Davis this year. Isaiah Hodgins is going to be back in the mix. Gabriel Davis proved that he could handle those duties while John Brown was out. Beasley will be back. Diggs will be back. You have Isaiah Hodgins there, and maybe McKenzie's back. John Brown could be. Look, I want John Brown back. really didn't have a great end of the season when he came back from injury. I know he had a decent game against Indy, but really struggled in that Chiefs game and struggled in a couple other situations. So dollars wise, it makes sense to cut him, but I'd hate to see him go.
Yeah, somebody mentioned we got Kenny Stills. I think it could be a situation where
Stills
Gabe
too.
Davis becomes he's a guy you can get for 1 year, 2 million, 1 year, 3 million. You can, if he's comfortable here, if you liked it here, that could have been the deal coming in. Like, hey, if someone gets hurt, you'll play. If not, it's going to be like a let's get comfortable for 2021 type of situation. So, like, you could see a situation next year where our wide receiver room is Stephon Diggs at wide receiver 1, Gabe Davis at wide receiver number 2, Cole Beasley at 3, a bigger role for Isaiah McKenzie at 4, and Kenny Stills rotating in with Gabe Davis, depending on your need at wide receiver 2. That brings in the question, do you have Andre Roberts? If Andre Roberts is on the team, that gives you 6 receivers. What does that relieve room for Isaiah Hodgins? What about Tanner Gentry? All these different things. Jake Krumero. So
yeah, in that case, I'd probably see Hodgins, like, given that he didn't play at all this year, they may try to redshirt him and actually let him practice. Like this next year on the practice squad. I could see
just don't. If we lose John Brown, I really would like there to be another speed option, like a Kenny Stills, just in the barrel.
Well,
if
we talked
Stephon
about
Diggs
that.
goes down, you want, like, Gabe Davis is not a burner down the field. Isaiah McKenzie is too small to play in the boundary. You need boundary speed guys in the National Football League, plain and simple.
Well, we said when the Stills signing happened that could have been a forward looking move as well. So
that'd be crazy, Randy. Like, that much turnover at the wide receiver position when all those players are good, and 2 of those players are affordable. I just personally don't see it. I personally don't. But
I also don't also don't see another natural kick returner on the roster right now. So
Randy and his love for Shi Smith coming in hot. But all right, so we just did.
I say no to Brown just because of the cap situation.
Here's a controversial one. You could save $7 million, and it's only a cap hit of like 1.5. Jerry Hughes, bill or not a bill in 2021?
He's a bill in 21.
Yeah, I agree. I think
he's too much of a prominent figure he's too much of a prominent figure. He's been such a long-standing vet. He's a prominent figure in the locker room, and honestly, he's still playing well. Like, it'd be different if his play had really dropped off, but I like what you said. Like, put him with some power guys. When he was in Jim Schwartz's 4-3, guy had 10 sacks in back-to-back years for us. Like, when Kyle was there, and Mario was on the other side. So, like, he's capable. He's still capable.
I'm not sleeping on him, Randy. I just there are other receivers, man. There are other guys. But I understand how the draft crush works. I get it.
Draft crushes are real.
All right, this one's a little tougher. I think the decision would be easy for us fans, but it's a pretty significant dead cap hit of about $4 million, but it's also a pretty significant savings in $6 million. Mario Addison, bill or no bill? Next season, 2021.
Unless he restructures. Oh, man, this is tough because McDermott has a freaking love fest for Mario Addison. It's a significant. I mean, what is it? $4 million dead cap hit if we get rid of him.
Yep.
But it's like $7 million in savings, something like that. Wow. God, I'll say just because I'm gonna have my first hot take of the offseason. No bill for Mario Addison. He's not back.
I think it'll be a bill. I think he'll restructure his deal.
He probably will. Yeah, he'll restructure.
Quentin Jefferson, pretty significant cap savings. I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but Quentin Jefferson,
he's done.
Yeah, I think he's gone. And that brings us to another Carolina guy, Vernon Butler, who another pretty significant cap savings if you let this guy go. Vernon Butler.
Unless he restructures, he's gone.
Yeah, I would say gone, but I also say there's probably a pretty significant chance because of his Carolina ties that he restructures. Next one. Oh, I did initials on here because like I said, I wasn't prepared. This is a crazy one. Like, hear me out here, because this guy, and it's not who you think. We're not getting to that one yet. Here's a guy who's a pretty significant cap savings. Everyone, I think, last offseason thought he was significantly overpaid, but he showed his worth on special teams. Tyler Matakevich is like a $3 million cap savings with only like $500K in dead money if you release Tyler Matakevich. So That's all I'm saying. He's still got 2 years left on a pretty significant deal for a special teamer. Tyler Matakevich, bill or no bill in 2021?
Freaking McDermott loves damn special teams, man. I think he is. I don't know. I just have a feeling he is.
I agree. I think he stays as well. Most people in the comments section say they think he. Carson Sindoni. I wasn't going to put this guy on the list, but Starlord Alele, bill or no bill in 2021?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, you can't get out of that contract. So unless they're going to do they're going to pull out Tyler Croft and restructure him, and next year is going to be his last year. But like if you go over to whatever that website is, blank Spot Track, my brain is not there. I'm still hungover, but his dead cap is insane.
Yeah, plus it's going to be kind of like getting a free agent back in a way, right?
Hopefully he's in shape.
Hopefully he's in shape.
Big boy had a whole year off.
Round is a shape, so I mean, we want those big fatties in the middle. There we go.
Here's one. Pretty significant cap hit if you cut him, but there is also some savings as well. AJ Klein.
I mean, I hated the contract when we signed him.
I think he's a restructure candidate too.
But he's a restructure candidate, but he's probably back. He's probably back.
Yeah, there's a lot of contracts. I think with the situation we're finding ourselves in with COVID, and a lot of players that Brandon Beam probably thought he could hold on to until 2022. Now possibly having to be cut in 2021. I think you could see a lot of restructure candidates, and I think AJ Klein is one of them. He's your break glass in case of emergency. He could play inside linebacker, he can play weak side linebacker, he can play strong side linebacker. So special teams. Somebody said EJ Gaines in the comment section. I think it was BFLO Mafia News. Why not EJ Gaines?
No.
Yeah, no. I think he'll probably go to training camp. Maybe. Who knows? But yeah. All right. Here's the last one. The one that fucking pissed some people off last week. And I'm sticking to it. I do not think this person will be a Buffalo Bill in 2021. Pretty significant dead cap hit, but also some decent savings as well. I do not think that Mitch Morse will be a Buffalo Bill in 2021. What are your thoughts?
I think he will be. If he's not, then you're basically you have to re-sign Feliciano, and you likely have to play Feliciano as your center at least.
I think that's their plan. I think that in order to improve the run game, you saw them sort of starting to scapegoat Mitch Morse for a while until Cody Ford's injury put a kaput to that lunacy. Mitch Morse is a pass blocker. He is not a run blocker. He can get to the second level, all these different things. I understand that he's got those concussion issues. He gets pushed around in the running game. I think that one of the ways the Bills will look at fixing the run game this offseason is taking Josh Allen's best friend, like one of his tightest buddies, probably number 2 in his heart behind Stephon Diggs and John Feliciano. They'll move John Feliciano to center. They'll plug in Cody Ford at left guard, a bigger body guy, probably get a little bit of a push in the run game. At least that's what they'll think. Retain Ike Bucker to be your swing, because Ike Bucker can play both guard positions and center, and then go out and try to find a right guard who can push some people around in the running game. I mean, picture that offensive line from left to right. Deion Dawkins at left tackle. I can picture this clear as day in my brain right now. Deion Dawkins at left tackle. Cody Ford at left guard. John Feliciano at center. Right guard, Wyatt Davis from Ohio State with pick number 30. Right tackle, Darrell Williams with Ty Nsekhe as your swing tackle, and Ike Bucker and Ryan Bates as your interior backups. I can picture clear as day that offensive line starting the season for the Buffalo.
I don't think, like, when people hear that, they're gonna, like, a lot of people, right? A lot of people can be like, whoa, like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't think it's that crazy of a thought to be fair to you. I don't think it's, I would be surprised if it happened, but I also don't think it's that crazy of a thought that it could happen.
And BFL Mafia News comes in saying Nsekhe with the rookie tackle develop. This team needs to have plan A, plan B, plan C in place. Like they have plans in place, because not everything goes the way you want to go. Not every draft prospect's on the board. Free agency comes before the draft, all those things. If Darrell Williams decides to take his money and run somewhere else, that might change their plans. And it might be, It might be Feliciano at right guard. It might be Cody Ford at left guard. It might be Mitch Morse at center with Butker and Bates behind him. Ty and Secchi at right tackle with a rookie in front of him. That could be another way that they go with this offensive line if a guy like Darrell Williams walks. So they're going to have plan A. They're going to have plan B. And this is literally what I love about the offseason. I am so fucking giddy just having this conversation. It's so much fun. I don't know why, but this is my fucking crack, dude. I love this conversation.
Has it done its job tonight?
Yeah, I feel better already. Picturing the Bills 2021 offensive line. Randy Harmon says, what about a new online coach? I doubt it. I struggle so much with this because I'm not get me wrong. I know a decent amount about football, but I'm not your X's and O's kind of guy. That's just not my style. I understand the lingo. I understand what I'm looking at, but you're never going to see me sitting there breaking down all 22 and understanding the intricacies of offensive line play. That's just not who I am. That might be a better question for Clay Troya, on the Hump Day Hotline. But to me, again, as a person without that X's and O knowledge, what I feel like this offensive line struggled with this year was a transition of philosophies. We went from a pass first or a run first offense to a pass first one. Like Josh Allen even said today on, he said, that's why we have cover one. Hey, we got Clay, we got people. He said today, Brian Dable spent his whole offseason researching throwing the ball on first down and second down, as opposed to running the ball, which is what people typically do. And it was just a total philosophical shift from utilizing a fullback in Patrick DeMarco and using a lot of 11 personnels with a tight end, all these different things, to running straight RPOs and handing off from the shotgun. There wasn't a lot of Josh Allen. Remember last year we would get so pissed off, right? Mm-hmm. We get to the 50-yard line, and then for some reason they bring in a fullback and Frank Gore. We're like, what the fuck?
Yep.
They didn't do that this year. Really? Literally, they didn't do it this year. Every once in a while, Reggie Gilliam would come in. Every once in a while, Dawson Knox or Lee Smith would play that sort of pistol-y type of fullback. It was a total philosophical shift. Should it have been fixed in season and corrected by the end of the season? Hell yes. Yes, it should have. But it didn't. So maybe coaching is the problem. But part of me thinks it's just part of me thinks it may be just a time, the coaching staff might see it as just a time thing. Mm-hmm. We just need an off season to reset. But what we're doing is working.
I think that's part of it. I do. And I think that,
mm-hmm.
with as much as we struggled, throughout the year with this interior line, outside of this last game, Darrell Williams was a nice find
mm-hmm.
at right tackle. So there were some bright spots to this. Obviously, Ford going down, you hate to see that for a young player. So that kind of ruined things. Winters didn't work out, obviously. There were hits and there were misses, right? And unfortunately, I think there were more misses just because of injuries
mm-hmm.
and things like that. But we were fortunate to have Dawkins there on the left side all year and not worry about it. We were fortunate, to have Darrell Williams come in on a good cheap deal and play pretty well for most of the year. For making $2 million, the guy played certainly above his contract for the entirety of the year. Dylan asked, will Leslie Frazier be the Bills DC next year? Yes or no?
Second interview in Houston tomorrow.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of ways to look at this. Number one, someone tweeted Nick Caserio and Jack Easterby come from New England and they saw twice a year what Leslie Frazier did to Tom Brady and then did to Cam Newton. Leslie Frazier's had some of his best defensive performances as a play caller against the guys who are now in charge of leading the Houston Texans. For some reason, the Houston Texans don't seem to have much interest in Eric Bieniemy. I know some of the rumors was Jack Easterby was a pastor or a chaplain or some kind of thing. And one of the rumors was that he traded DeAndre Hopkins because he didn't like his lifestyle. So you have a guy in Eric Bieniemy who, rumor has it, they didn't even want to interview him until Deshaun Watson said, if you don't interview this guy, I'm fucking quitting. Find me a new team. And so they interviewed him, and now it's down to Leslie Frazier and Eric Bieniemy. Eric Bieniemy has a criminal past. a lot of stuff when he was in college, a lot of stuff when he was a college coach, some shadier things in his past. It was a long time ago. I think that people probably should overlook it by now. I mean, there's a ton of head coaches with baggage. I'm pretty sure Todd Haley has killed a stripper. Like, I'm pretty sure that's a thing that's happened. And he was offensive coordinator in Pittsburgh and a head coach in the National Football League.
I mean,
If you take
that
one look,
Mike with his brother, that was a freaking travesty.
take one look at Todd Haley and tell me he's never killed a stripper.
I can't.
You
tell
can't. With a
I
straight
can't.
face, you can't.
Not with a straight face.
With a straight face, you can't. So sorry. I fucking hate Todd Haley. I don't.
Isn't
don't
he like
Todd
coaching
Haley.
high school now?
I think he's
isn't
coaching like high school. He's on Twitter. I think he follows me. He has no idea that I follow him. Anyway, there was that Aaron Cromer, the offensive line coach, was beat up a little kid on a beach somewhere over like a fucking chair. He's a coach still. I think Chad Forrester is still an offensive line coach. He was like snorting coke off of a stripper. So like there are plenty of white dudes who get in trouble, but Jack Easterby doesn't want to hire these people. So Leslie Frazier is, for the most part, I think he's a pretty devout in his faith, which is something that Jack Easterby is as well. It really wouldn't surprise me if Leslie Frazier, because of shit I'm hearing going on in Houston, it's nuts. Some of these stories are crazy. I wouldn't be surprised if Leslie gets that Houston job. It seems to me like they're looking for a coach to come in and take lumps for 3 or 4 years because they ain't going to be good for a long time. That team's going to be bad.
Yeah.
So listen, I have nothing but love for Leslie. I know I said fire him earlier. That's not coming from a place of hate. He is a qualified defensive coordinator in the National Football League. I just thought it might be time for a different perspective, a different perspective from that of our head coach, who's clearly not going anywhere. Leslie Frazier is a qualified coach, but he's got all these things working against him that we talked about. He is older. He's 60 plus. He's a defensive coach. He's already failed once as a coach. He's got all these strikes against him. If Houston offers him that job, he's got to take it. He's got to take it. Richard says, who hasn't? Leslie Frazier probably hasn't, and that's probably why he's gonna get the Houston job. But it's he has to take that job. He has no choice. Leslie Frazier, if offered the head coach of the Houston Texans, that's the last head coaching offer he will ever get in his entire life. Like, with all those strikes against him, tire fire organizations in desperate need of a head coach, anyone to take the job will hire Leslie Frazier. Buffalo was in the same situation when they hired Chan Gailey. No one wanted it. No one wanted the job when we hired Chan.
Correct.
And as much as I love Leslie, like, that's a Chan Gailey type of situation there in Houston. The only difference is Deshaun Watson's a quarterback there. But Eric Bieniemy can look at that tire fire in Houston, have a conversation with Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson says, hey, even this won't make me happy. And Eric Bieniemy can just say, like, all right, whatever. Like, sucks to suck. I'm just not going to take any job. I'll wait till next year. So
it's a Brian Dable situation for Bieniemy in my mind, right? It's
Bieniemy,
don't go for the job. Go for the job you want. Don't take a job just to take it. You know you're going to be in the rounds again next year.
Yeah. Bieniemy, despite the fact that he's been passed over like 2 off seasons too many at this point, can be picky. Leslie Frazier cannot be picky. So it's all right. I think talking about NFL coaches snorting coke and killing strippers is a pretty good place to end it tonight.
That's a goodest place of any. I'm gonna finish this ice cream before it melts.
You realize things have gone off the rails when you are just talking about killing strippers and snorting coke. So, ladies and gentlemen, it has been a pleasure. Thank you for grieving with us. Yeah, I'll end it on this one. Frazier is so classy. Love him. Nothing but love and respect for Leslie Frazier here. Again, despite the fact that I said he has to take the Houston job because he has no other choice, and that I thought Sean McDermott should fire him. Nothing but love. Nothing but love, Leslie. There was caveats to everything I said there. So, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, we appreciate you. Remember, we will be here all off season. We ain't going anywhere. We might take a couple of weeks off in July, but that's about it. That is about it. Every Monday, every Thursday, we will be here 8 p.m. Free agency, the draft, news and notes, all that stuff. Buffalo Fanatics has got you covered. We're mapping out our draft coverage this week. We're mapping out our free agency coverage this week. We are 30 deep in terms of personalities. There will always be someone here on YouTube to have this conversation with you guys, the best fans in the business. We appreciate every single one of you in the comment section. I say it before, I'll say it again. You guys are the third host of this show. We truly appreciate it. And until next time, Dave, until next time, go Bills.
Go Bills.